What are you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. I don't know how to spell what are you at. Uh, do you even know what I'm saying when I say what are you at? What are you at? It's the Newfoundland version of you all right? We don't say you all right. When I first moved here and people would say, you all right? I thought it was a genuine question. I didn't know it was a greeting. And that's what you at is. It's a greeting. And I don't know how it's spelled. This is a fridge magnet that my mother-in-law brought to me. I don't like this spelling, but it's essentially what are you at? What are you doing? How are you? That's what it means. It's just a greeting. You don't really want to know if I'm all right, do you? And I don't really want to know what you are at. But that's how we say hello. We say, what are you at? So, what are you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Today in history, let's see. I have to do. What do I do? I've forgotten everything. I've been away for the weekend. I was at the Sailmakers Market and I've forgotten how to operate the controls here. There we go. So, we're going to look at this day in history quickly and see what happened on this day in history, the 22nd of September. On the 22nd of September, this day in history, today in history, is 1692. The last 8 people, Martha Corey, Margaret Scott, Mary Easty, Alice Parker, Anne Pudeater, Wilmot Red, and Samuel Wardwell and Mary Parker are hanged for allegedly practicing witchcraft as a result of the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts Bay Colony. 19 are hanged overall, with 6 other deaths caused by hysteria. And that's a funny. Well, it's not really funny, but it's not funny, haha. But it's funny that the Salem witch trials. It's a weird page in history, and of course, there's a version here as well. What do you add, Asterix? Um, yeah, the what are they? The Pendleton witch trials here in Lancashire, I guess. Um, Lancaster Castle. They were tried at, wasn't it, and executed. The Pendleton witch trials. That's an interesting story. I've watched a video about it. It's again, it's people telling lies, isn't it? But that happened this day in history in 1692, the Salem witch trials. And also this day in history in 1735, Robert Walpole becomes the first British Prime Minister, actually First Lord of the Treasury, to live at 10 Downing Street. He became the First Lord of the Treasury, the de facto Prime Minister, to officially reside at 10 Downing Street after King George II granted him the property as a royal gift. Walpole insisted it be designated the official residence for his office rather than a personal gift, establishing the tradition that the Prime Minister would live there. Yeah, I've heard about ducking stools. Um, I don't think there were ducking stools involved in the Salem witch trials. I think they just hung them. There may have been. I don't recall. It's been a long time since I looked at anything to do with the Salem witch trials. I did the thing that comes to mind when I think about it is a course I did about set design in television. And the guy who was given the course, he asked how you would create a gallows for a movie, television. Pendle Witches, is it? Um, the and I mentioned because at the time I think there was a Salem movie on television or something, some documentary or something on television at the time when I was taking the course. And I said, well, you could look at their version of it. And he was like, yeah, but that's just somebody's interpretation of it. You got to go back to primary sources if you can. And as it turns out, I believe they were hung from a tree. They weren't hung on a gallows at all. So there you go. In the show or documentary or whatever it was that was on at the time, the Salem witches were hung from a gallows, which didn't happen. They were hung from a tree, if I recall correctly. But yeah, we always try to go back to primary sources to get the primary sources are not always the best information, but you try to go back to primary sources to start, of course. Uh, Tangent. But that's good. I like that. He made it the residence for the office instead of a personal gift. I guess it's nice to be able to do such things. This is a good one. On this day in history, in 1955, Britain's first ever TV advertisement was broadcast. On the newly launched commercial television station ITV, the 1 minute black and white commercial was for Gibbs SR toothpaste and featured a voiceover, a toothbrush, and a tube of toothpaste suspended in a block of ice and a demonstration of brushing. The ad promoted the toothpaste's tingling fresh quality, linking the tingle to the beneficial effects of its ingredients, sodium reionolate, on gums. There you go, the first TV commercial. Can you believe that? That's this day in history. Look how far we've come. 1955. So, yeah. Yeah. There you go. It's an anniversary, isn't it? On this day in history in 1290, I guess this is a fictional 1290, Bilbo Baggins, the fictional main character of J.R.R. Tolkien's 1937 novel The Hobbit, was born in the Shire. And yeah, I enjoyed The Hobbit. I think The Hobbit's probably my favorite of all the Lord of the Rings stories. It's self-contained, you know. And the movie was went a bit far with it, didn't it? But this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about this lady. Dame Christabel Harriet Pankhurst was a prominent British suffragette born in Manchester, England on September 22nd, 1880 to Emmeline. Do you say Emmeline? Everywhere I hear it Emmeline. But if I were to pronounce that by looking at it, I'd say Emmeline. I think that's how I would pronounce it. And I didn't know any Emmelines. I knew Emmeline's. But everyone here pronounces it Emmeline. So when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? Emmeline Pankhurst and Richard Pankhurst. She was a co-founder and chief organizer of the Women's Social and Political Union, WSPU, which we were talking about last time. Known for her strategic leadership and militant tactics in the fight for women's suffrage. After a career in activism that included imprisonment and exile, she later became a successful preacher and evangelist for the Second Adventist movement in the United States, dying in 1958. So, of course, that was our Emmeline for you too? Yeah, that's how I pronounce it, or how I was told to pronounce the person I knew whose name was such. She told me that was her name, so that was, and she was the first of several I met that were all Emmelines, not Emmelines. So yeah, of course, that was our photo. Where is it photo? That is their house on 62 Nelson Street, Manchester. I think it's in Stretford, isn't it? Old Trafford. And it's the birthplace of the suffragette movement. And it's now the Pankhurst Centre. So we have a clip to look at for this one. It is, I've made several videos about the Pankhurst. Nothing in, I haven't actually made one about Emmeline, Emmeline Pankhurst. But I made one about her husband, Richard Pankhurst, who's buried just up the road here in Salem Brooklyn Cemetery. And this one, made a few short videos about them, and I do have to make a video. It's at MRI. What do you mean? Charlton on Medlock? Okay. It says Manchester, of course, which really is Greater Manchester. I haven't been to this place. I know I've driven by it. It has the blue plaque on the front there. So we're going to look at a video I did a while ago about the suffragettes and white feathers, because every time you mention the Pankhursts, Manchester Royal Infirmary, I don't know what you're talking about. That's the MRI. It's a private residence. Anyway, every time you mention the suffragettes, and Christabel, I think specifically, is the one that takes the most flack about this, the white feather movement. And we'll just watch the video. It's strange. In the First World War, they would give out white feathers as a sign of cowardice. The Pankhurst Center at the Pankhurst, that place is their home is called the Pankhurst Center as well. I believe it is, or at least that's what the interweb tells me it is. As I said, I haven't been there. Is it? It's within the grounds of the hospital? Okay, I'll have to look at that. I haven't been there. It's a place I've been meaning to go to have a look at. Good evening, 1, 2, 3, 4. You missed it. You could have told Asterix where the photo was. Yeah, they always get a lot of flack. A lot of it's terrible. It's just misogynistic nonsense directed at Pankhurst, because I looked into this and there is absolutely no evidence. Anyway, let's watch the video and we'll get into that after. It was Emmeline Goulden's birthday this week. You may know her as Emmeline Pankhurst. She's the face of women's suffrage, or the right to vote in Britain. You'll find it's inevitable that any mention of her name in social media today will provoke someone to start going on about white feathers. Now, what's that all about? Well, the The white feather has a long history of being associated with cowardice, but especially during the First World War. It became a movement, and all over the country, some women were handing out white feathers to anyone not in uniform. This often got out of hand, and there are accounts of young girls handing white feathers to veterans in civilian clothes who had just come back from the front and had the missing limbs to prove it. There's even a story of a man on his way to receive the Victoria Cross being handed a white feather. The movement was contentious, very newsworthy, and well covered in the press. And I say that to point out Emmeline Pankhurst's involvement in it. Emmeline Pankhurst put a halt to all militant suffragette activities for the duration of the war. She called for a truce with the government. The authorities even released all the suffragette prisoners. In return, the suffragettes turned their attention to supporting the war effort. Emmeline gave many impassioned speeches urging men to join up. Did she support or agree with the white feather movement? Maybe, but here's what we do know. There's no first-hand account, contemporary witness, or period source that connects Emmeline Pankhurst with the white feather. Nothing that says she gave them out or that she encouraged anyone to give them out. Had Emmeline Pankhurst been involved in the white feather movement, it would have been publicized. There would have been many that could have used this to discredit her. The closest you'll find is a brief mention in a book by Sylvia Pankhurst, where she says she was at a speech given by Emmeline Pankhurst where there were women in the audience giving out white feathers. But I think you'll find people in crowds doing all kinds of things in complete contradiction to the speaker, like handing out Bibles at atheist conventions or selling burgers at a vegetarian cookout. Furthermore, we have to consider this source. Although it is her daughter's account, they were estranged at the time. They had a falling out over the group's tactics, and I don't think they ever spoke again. So although it may be true, it doesn't directly tie the suffragettes or Emmeline Pankhurst to handing out white feathers. Sylvia Pankhurst definitely had an axe to grind with her mother and the suffragettes. You also have to consider the time. We can't judge people out of the context of their own time. Perhaps today you feel that encouraging men to march off to their slaughter and join up in an unjust, stupid war is immoral. And I'd agree with you. I don't think you could find a stupider war than the First World War. But that certainly was not the case in 1914. Most people supported the war and thought it was everyone's duty to participate. If you look into the content tying Emmeline Pankhurst to the white feather movement, you'll find it usually comes from those with a far-right agenda. You'll see content alongside it about how it's wrong to tear down statues of Confederate generals. You know, those guys who defended slavery. And then you'll hear comments like, who's next? George Washington? Thomas Jefferson? And I'll be damned if they aren't right. Then you see some left-wing woke fool saying George Washington and Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, and we shouldn't celebrate these men. Come on, man. People are complicated. History is complicated. That's not why we celebrate these people. I've said it before, I don't have a problem with people tearing down a statue of a slave trader and throwing it in the harbor, but what I do have a problem with is the government taking it down and hiding it away. History is complicated. The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. We can't change the past. The things we know and learn about it may change, but that doesn't change it. We can learn from it, but regardless of the lesson, it is still shaped the way we are. No one's denying that the militant tactics, some say terrorist activities, of the suffragettes are questionable. No one's denying that the suffragettes were involved in recruitment drives. So I don't know if those photos there are of the place we were talking about on Friday. It could be, I don't remember now. the Lever, William Hesketh Lever's place, Rivington Pike. So that might be his house that they burned down. Terrorist activities of the suffragettes are questionable. No one's denying that the suffragettes were involved in recruitment drives, but I'm afraid there's no evidence that Emmeline Pankhurst was involved in the White Feather movement. All that being said, the following video may seem ironic after all this. After admonishing misogynistic behavior, we'll go to a video about the man behind the woman. Let's take a look back at one of our first videos, the story of Richard Pankhurst. He's buried just up the road here. So this is just a clip of that video, but I want to point this out here. I was watching this morning to show to you, and my son came with me to do this video, and I said, "Do you want to do the camera work?" "Yeah," he said. So I handed him the camera. He did such a good job. I'm so proud of him. Like, he has a talent that he will not explore. I can't get him to go on video adventures with me anymore. This was several years ago, one of the first videos we made, and he did a fantastic job. He was like, I don't know, like 8 years old, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And just check out this shot. So I told him what I wanted. I said, start with the chapel in the cemetery, walk towards the chapel, and then pan to me, and then I'll do my line, and then pan to the headstone. Check it out. Check out how smooth his camera work is. Here. Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. We're in the Sale and Brooklyn Cemetery today. We're here to visit poor Richard. Nobody comes to visit him much these days. There weren't any great monuments made for him. You got to see that again. The proud dad. Look at that. He starts up at the chapel, comes down, goes forward. It's brilliant. Fantastic job. The road here. Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. We're in the Sale and Brooklyn Cemetery today. We're here to visit poor Richard. Nobody comes to visit him much these days. There weren't any great monuments made for him or statues. He didn't fight in any great battles or win a war. He wasn't a man ahead of his time. He was just a man for his time. A man in the right place at the right time. And what man could hope for more than to have these words inscribed on his headstone? Brave, noble, true, and my loving comrade. He was a great man. And more than any other man, he proved the adage, behind every great man, there's a great woman. Richard Pankhurst is best remembered as the husband of Emmeline Goulden, better known as Emmeline Pankhurst, named the most important woman of the 20th century. Thanks for watching. I'll leave a link to the full video about Richard Pankhurst in the description. If you want to help us out with the things we do here at Wicked Acorn, check out our website, wickedacorn.com. So I'll let the ad play. We were at the Sale Makers Market. I was all morning putting away all the stuff and taking stock. And somebody ordered a mug. So you can get these mugs with your name on them too. And if you know of anybody wants one, they make great Christmas gifts. Yes, I said Christmas gifts. Uh, but if you know anyone that is having a function or something, these make great things, and the coasters as well. You can get whatever. I've done them for organizations and things. So if there's anything you can do to help out the channel, that'd be great. But this stuff, every time you mention the Pankhursts, you'll see white feather comments. And I searched and searched and searched and could not find any mention of the Pankhursts, the WSPU, handing out white feathers. Now, I have no doubt whatsoever that suffragettes handed out white feathers. I have no doubt whatsoever that that happened. Of course they did. Of course they handed out white feathers. No doubt about it whatsoever. But it wasn't officially endorsed by the WSPU. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't unofficially endorse it. They may have talked about it behind the scenes, but there's no mention of it whatsoever anywhere that the Pankhursts or WSPU was involved with handing out white feathers. And as I say in the video, it's if there was evidence of it, it would have been reported in the papers. And there's no evidence out there that they handed out white feathers. So the next time you see that comment, you can tell them I said so. So that's our video for today, and that's our This Day in History. We've got our next Where Is It photo. Let me get through here. This one you'll never get because, well, maybe you will, but I know I wouldn't. I would never get this. I would have no idea where this is, but maybe you do. And this is something we're going to talk about tomorrow. So if you know where this is, you can leave a comment, leave your answer, and we'll see if anybody can figure out where that place is. I would never guess it. But then again, I wouldn't know where. Let's have a look at that, actually. Let's see if I can do that. How would I do that? This is something I'd like to be able to do. So, what is it? It's 62 Nelson Street, isn't it? Let's go to Google Maps. So this is something I just wish my computer was faster. But as I keep saying, yeah, that's the yeah, that's the MRI, isn't it? As I said, I know I've driven past it before. And MRI is an unfortunate name, isn't it? my wife, uh, my wife used to work here at the MRI. Yeah, it's right across the road, isn't it? There it is. It's not quite lined up there, and it's not caught up. Oh, yes, it is. Um, yeah, right across the road. My wife worked at the MRI, and so obviously I've been there before, but I've never been in it. I keep meaning to go there, and she mentioned MRI all the time, and she uses those what are those things called? MRIs, abbreviations. I'm thinking of NASA and words, abbreviation that become words. What are those things called? They have a different name. Um, and she would talk about MRI all the time. And like, what are you talking about? Because of course, it's a machine used in hospitals, the magnetic resonant imaging or something, magnetic resonance images or something like that. So it's it's talked about in doctor shows on TV. Yeah, it's yeah, of course. But when I look it up online, it doesn't show me this. It shows me this. So and luckily for me, I've never been to the MRI other than to drop someone off there. So not part of my world, thankfully. Part of my part of my wife's world. She used to work there. So anyway, I digress again and again and again. Acronym, that's it. So there's our where is it photo for next time. And somebody was asking the other night. Let me see if I have this here. Oh, I doubt they're all there. Let's see. Oh, I don't have the overhead camera set up. All right, I'll set that up for tomorrow so you can look at that. I got these Scrabble tiles here. I was going to show you something, but I don't have the overhead camera set up, so I'll set that up and I'll show you that tomorrow. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you in the next one.